Okay guys, for this week's tip of the week we're going to talk about the body pivot. Alright, now what I like to think of as the engine room of the golf swing. I see a lot of issues that happen in the golf swing as a compensation for actually having an incorrect body pivot. So if you want to improve, this is really the place to start. Okay, so it's pretty simple, not necessarily easy but pretty simple. First thing you want to do is really get your angles right. When I'm talking about angles, it starts with your setup. Okay, so we want to get the posture right, particularly that spine angle there. Somewhere between 45 and 60 degrees will be good, so that you can get your arms hanging from there. Okay, once you've set that angle, you want to learn to pivot around that angle. So you need to maintain it as you turn. That's essentially what we call the pivot. Okay, so a nice simple drill you can do. Okay, get your angles right. Imagine where the ball is going to be. Okay, and then we're going to put this club across the top of your chest. Okay, and what you want to do is turn the club down on that original spine angle and point it down to where the golf ball would be. Right, so if you were to lose your posture, okay, the club would point up there, therefore I'm changing my spine angle. Okay, if your pivot is moving around or incorrect, you'll notice any issues that are happening just by having that club across your chest and concentrating on where it should turn. Alright, these can be also caused by your leg action. Okay, any movement in the hips, knees, that kind of thing will cause the same issue. So you don't need to try and isolate it too much, just get your pivot correct on the correct angle. Okay, nice and simple, across the chest, turn back and point that club down to where the golf ball should be. Really, really easy. Okay, then the second thing, once you've mastered that and you can maintain your angles, you really want to learn the correct sequence or the correct order. Okay, so the complete golf sequence will obviously have a little bit of footwork and also the hand and club added to it, but your pivot sequence can set everything up nicely for you. So let's just try and isolate that pivot sequence. Okay, and you can really build a good golf swing from there. Alright, so really simple. We're going to isolate really the top half and the bottom half. Okay, you can use the same drill, but what we're going to do is turn everything back together. So there's a little bit of shoulder, torso, hip turn all happening together. Okay, if you leave everything neutral, you should naturally shift a little bit of weight as well. Okay, so once you've done that, alright, the sequence is quite simple. We stop the top half, okay, the shoulders and torso, we stop that, okay, and then we try and unwind from the lower half, almost resisting or waiting at least being passive with the upper body. Okay, so it's all together and then unwind from the ground. What you'll notice is that once you start unwinding from the ground, you don't have any option other than to rotate through with the torso and the shoulders. You can only resist or wait for a certain amount of time until you get pulled along for the ride. And that's really the feeling that you want. It's a more reactionary feeling than a deliberate one. Okay, so really simple. Turn all together, unwind from the bottom until you get pulled through. Okay, once you get the hang of it, start putting it together with a little bit of rhythm. Okay, so it looks something like this. And just keep going with that. Eventually add the club, okay, and you'll build yourself a really nice functional reactional golf swing. Okay, and then the last little bit of our pivot tip of the week is that this is true not only for the full swing but actually for the shorter shots, and certainly I think in putting as well. So it's really the same movements, obviously slightly with putting with a different club and a different setup, but essentially the same movement. But try and build your pitching and your chipping around the same technique. So a chipping action would look something like this. Okay, exactly the same, just a slightly narrower stance and a smaller shoulder turn. So we're going to turn for chipping maybe about 30 degrees. Okay, as soon as we get there we stop and we unwind from here. With a little bit of rhythm, your chipping action should look something like this. Okay, if you add the club, and then pitching exactly the same, just maybe sort of 60 or 70 degrees of shoulder turn, a little bit of resistance, unwind. You can build your whole game around that. Okay, so let's try and build our swing around that body pivot and isolate something there we can improve to improve our golf swing. Good luck.